Base locations, the fundamental basis of surviving ARK. Without a place to reside, stash your gear, hide away in safety against the many dangers awaiting within each map, you simply won't last long. But picking a location that works for you, whether in PvP or PvE, can be a monolithic task, being your place of solace, that you will look to upgrade and evolve over months, even years of survival. So it's important to pick a good location. But what are the community's favourite locations? You're right kids, it's Raasclark, and before we begin, I do need to stress the journey it took to reach these votes first. It became quite apparent that with a larger PvE audience, navigating the right locations for PvP was to say the least difficult, and vice versa. With a different playstyle comes a different outlook on what is the best base location. And so we've divided this vote into two sections, PvP locations and PvE locations, with perhaps still some influence from either on the vote, but all still worth considering, with my reasons why. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share around, and let's get into it. So kicking off with the PvP maps first, in at number 5 on Extinction is the Alpha Tree. Hidden within the sunken forest at 28.6 and 0.7. Alpha Tree is possibly the most ambitious of locations on this list, not least because of its technically 3 entrances, with one of these being quite split and open. But its geometry alone may put off many players and certainly smaller tribes. However, makes up for being a great location for its hidden and easily overlooked spot, and being only accessible by flyers. While certainly needed to be approached with a lot of cliff platforms and chandelier turret towers, once built correctly can make for a fantastic space for any large tribe needing it, allowing for multi-tiered floors, and when ready holds a huge wide area below within a 2-way tunnel that can be built into, whether for further defences or otherwise. It's certainly perhaps the hardest to get defended early on in this list, but once achieved you're graced with a multi-tiered location that will require opponents to tackle both land and air defences. In at number 4 on centre, the North Ice Cave at 18.7, 29.7. Surprisingly lower on this list and easily a contender for the best PvP location of all time, banned on many unofficial clusters being a testament to its worth. North Ice Cave is a gauntlet of a cave alone to see through to its end. Overlooking it has actually 2 ends, decided within an underwater tunnel, which yes means not only do enemies need to tackle tunnel after tunnel, easily turret walls with great lines of sight, vertical drops and all within sub-zero temperatures they'll need to pass and attempt to vertically exit underwater areas, and with quite a huge final room at the end of the cave, allowing for everything needed to build the biggest base possible. Every single twist and turn throughout that cave can be used for solely defense. The only real drawback with this location is simply getting in and out. With such a huge cave, you'll certainly want to be working on teleporters as quick as possible to help teleport you to the entrance, which too can be fortified well, with 4 prominent pillars overlooking a wide central area, offering even more defences to create a siege worth of a base. In at number 3 and once again on the centre, the Pearl Cave, officially called the Lava Oasis Cave at 15.8, 50.5. And it seems once again centre is arguably a great map for PvP locations, with churning out another banger set on Lava Island this time, with quite possibly the most difficult entrance to breach. Despite not being a crouch space, only just allows the height of a survivor to walk through a very narrow corridor, and once opened up reveals a large wide area allowing for many turrets all focused on this single entrance. Being quite narrow in places, it splits off to 2 areas, offering a precarious bridge approach in one way and an underwater requirement in the other, opening out to a reasonably large area for a great flat area for building, and with a challenging water area to bypass when defended well, combined with the punishing entrance can make for a superbly defended location for any tribe. In at number 2 on Ragnarok, the Triple Waterfall Cave, officially known as White Dove Falls Cave at 27.3, 47.7, and certainly the most surprising entry on this list, owed in my opinion to perhaps a slight influence from PvE, but additionally lovers of Ragnarok as a whole. It has to be said Triple Waterfall was once a very difficult base location to raid, well back in Legacy, but made much easier nowadays with newer creatures, tech and metas introduced. It's hard to argue that Triple Waterfall still holds a candle to being a great base location. Hidden behind 3 waterfalls, well, technically 2, the location boasts 1 land entrance and 1 flyer entrance, the former being accessed through quite a narrow and obscure passage, opening out to a reasonably large space. Perhaps not fit for a mega tribe, it's certainly adapted for small tribes, with 2 difficult entrances being quite possible to defend well. However, with 2 narrow entrances and not the biggest of spaces inside, you may and should find yourself pushing defences outside as quickly as possible, slowing down anything that breaches your main doors. And before we get to number 1 of the PvP locations, let's have a quick look at those that deserve the cut but just didn't quite gain enough votes. So here it is in at number 1 on the island, the Snow Cave at 29.1, 31.8 and winning by a milestone. And it has to be said, maybe a fond memory or 2 held to this location, being the first cave many of us faced and died to, and then realised at some point wouldn't it make for a great base location? And so it began, and with all great beginnings welcomes you with a punishingly difficult crawl space, requiring any would-be attacker to slow down to a literal crawl, and making any push almost impossible should you be on and defending. Though it has to be said, due to a narrow turn can be offlined easily enough, so set those turrets back and aiming true, and behind those a winding area of ice-cold corridors, allowing you to set further defences back until you reach the last few areas. Whilst not perhaps the flattest of places, can still function well as a base for all the base things you need to do. Pushing defences out further, and you'll eventually create certainly one of the best locations to survive in ARK PvP, and arguably so winning the vote as highly as it did. Which brings us to our PvE locations. And kicking us off at number 5 on the island is the Moor, around 40-48. And certainly a huge wide area that offers a location for a sizable base. At the base of Ireland's 2 most prominent mountains, one being a volcano and the other offering one of the best metal farming locations on the map. The Moor offers freedom of building without hitting a cliff, and almost central enough to access the rest of the island. Only really let down by a lack of water, but not too far away. It's worth mentioning, however, that building here is close by those lovely Giga and Titan spawns, arguably one of the most feared elements of PvE. So make sure to build those walls high to live an open plan life in peace. Scorched Earth, somewhat unloved by many but seemingly not with it hitting the top 10. But with a punishingly hot map with very little water access, there stands a diamond in the rough, the Eastern Oasis at 50-73, offering not only plenty of water access but plenty of metal and pearls nearby. Overshadowed by Green Obelisk and offering wide flat enough spots to build a fantastic base to survive in, having by far one of the easiest bosses to grind for element in ARK. It's fitting enough to be right by a terminal, allowing you a quick and easy setup for each fight, and a quick grind to tech. In at number 3 on Ragnarok, the Hidana Plains, or the Southern Hidana at 58-35. Ask anyone, especially building creatively, what is the largest flattest spot in ARK, and most experienced players will point you to Hidana Plains, an incredibly vast flat area ready and waiting to build the biggest of bases with little end in sight. Of course, being one of your most favoured voted maps, it's hard to argue for a better PvE location, being close to Green Ob for all those boss runs, water within reach, metal teasing from the canyons, and Wyvern's Cove ready to dip back and forth from for those cheeky egg runs. Only really contested by a Giga spawn in the same area, it allows the most creative of builders to go wild and build some of the largest and laggiest builds you could ever ask for. In at number 2 on the island, Hidden Lake at 22-68. And a fond memory for most. Hidden Lake once upon a time was seen to be both a great PvP and PvE location, though since did lose its survivor defense appeal with the times. It still doubles down as a natural defense to all wild creatures, having rising walls throughout, dense trees surrounding, and narrow valleys dividing it off from the rest of the world. Surrounding a lake, thus the name, the location is certainly a PvE's paradise, feeling cut off from the hellish challenges of the map, and all the resources you'd ever need near enough, including of course beaver spawns, allowing the best access to paste early on. Being the very first location teased by Wildcard themselves in their first official trailer, it can no doubt hold a place in every player's heart. And before we get to the most popular base location of all time, let's have a quick look at the locations that just missed the cut. So here it is in at number 1, Herbivore Island on the island at 85-82, and winning by a majority vote, Herbivore Island is your favourite location, set away from everything death the map offers. The location is certainly the least hostile place to live, with the clue in the name housing only herbivore dinos. Divided by the sea and by quite a deal in comparison to most desert islands, Herbivore offers a luxurious cove lovingly wrapped in cliff face comfort, with a spacious building space ready for a home and land for dinos to live on. With absolutely zero worry of anything attacking, defences from wilds are the merest of afterthoughts. Its perhaps only downside is being as far away from any metal grind you could want, but perhaps in PvE, metal is certainly not the be-all and end-all. And with a location that spells a fantastic view of the many challenges Island offers, why not take haven in a herbivore haven? A herbivore island haven. Thanks all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, comment below, let me know. What more top 10s would you like to see in the future? My name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And as always, peace out.